Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you joined me. Today I am trying to make my granny's famous banana bread. This was a family favorite of ours that I'm trying to recreate. She always started with some really ripe bananas. These bananas I got from the Mexican store. I think they're like a mix between a plantain and banana. I used some unsweetened applesauce. I don't think she used that, but I did. Some ground cinnamon. You're going to need some all-purpose flour or cake flour, whichever one you like. Some baking powder. If you use cake flour, you won't need baking powder. Some butter and some room temperature eggs. Okay, so to start, first you want to mash your ripe bananas. You want them really ripe so you can get that sweetness. These were not as sweet as I would like them, so as you'll see later on in the video, I'm going to add a little bit more sugar than I typically would to my banana bread, but I'm telling you, it's going to come out perfect. So when you mash your bananas, you're going to get them good and mashed. I added about a half of a cup of applesauce. Actually, it was like 1/4 of a cup, a little bit over 1/4 of a cup of applesauce. And this is unsweetened applesauce, but it still tasted semi-sweet. Because the apples I guess they used were indeed sweeter, so it just worked out in my favor. From there, I'm going to start with the wet ingredients, and I'm telling you, I'm making this easy, so you ain't got to do nothing separate. Everything going in one bowl, okay? So I added my 2 eggs into the banana and the applesauce mixture, and I'm going to whisk that in very good. You want to whisk it to get it as smooth as you can, because these bananas here, I must say, that's why I say I think they're like a almost a plantain type mix of banana, because these had some chunks that took me a little bit longer. When I noticed when I make it with just regular bananas, I don't have that problem. I used all the cinnamon I had left, which was about a little bit, maybe 1/3 of a tablespoon full. And I just put it to the side because you're going to see I made a mistake here. I actually melted me some butter into my dish that I'm going to pour in my loaf pan. This is a glass loaf pan. And the butter that I melted about 1/4 of a tablespoon of butter, right? So I call myself being fancy, like wiping the butter all around the dish. And I ended up pouring the excess butter over into the bowl with my banana bread mixture. Well, from there, I cut this portion out, but I put flour in it, if you could see back there. It came out too gummy, so I had to end up wiping that out, and you'll see later what I actually do. From there, I'm just stirring in my sugar, which was 1.5 cups of sugar, because my bananas were not as sweet. And I would not use that much sugar if my bananas were sweeter. And so here I actually sift about a cup to a cup and a half of flour. I can kind of eyeball stuff, so it's not a problem for me to eyeball my flour in as far as measurements are concerned. Now, one thing about my grandmother, she was heavy on the bananas and not so much heavy on the flour. So the bananas was a strong, vibrant flavor. And that's exactly what I was trying to accomplish with this banana bread. Now, listen, I have not perfected this. This banana bread was really good, okay? I'm probably going to have another video showing you another exact recipe, because I'm trying to get it as close to my grandmother's recipe as possible. I don't have the recipe, so I've just been playing with different recipes of banana pudding, banana bread, and just putting my take on it, just trying to figure out how Grandma Geist did it. So here I'm sifting the flour. Those little bits right there, I throw them away, and then I stir the banana bread, the flour, into my banana mixture. Okay. Here you can see I was making a clear mess. Okay, sifted flour is so light and fluffy that it is easily like shaken out of your bowl. So just be careful. I had a mess, so at one point you'll see I stop and kind of get things cleaned up, but you want to get it mixed into your banana mixture. So like I was saying, my grandmother's banana bread is dense. It was dense. It was dark in color. It was full bodied texture, if I had to describe it in any way. It was so good that it's like when it didn't really have a chewy texture, but when you chew, it kind of melted in your mouth. So the denseness of the banana bread didn't really throw you off. So I am just trying to figure it out, you guys. So this recipe actually turned out really good. It was better than what I expected it to be. So I decided, which my grandmother used walnuts every now and then because nuts were expensive. So it wasn't like something that she would always have in her bread. She would put walnuts in it when she could afford to have nuts. So this time I used pecans in this mixture, and I took about a half of a cup of whole pecans. As you can see, that bag I actually purchased from Costco's. I took a good heaping handful and I just roughly chopped these pecans. I didn't want them too fine because I wanted the bread to have texture and bite. And so when you're trying to have texture in your bite, you don't want to, chop them up too finely. You want to rough chop those pecans. These pecans were really good. So here you'll see me. I had actually wiped out my dish that had the chunks of the butter and flour in it. And I just went back the old school way. Me trying to be fancy with my melted butter and my little brush to brush everything on didn't work. So I just took my handy dandy hands. I took my hands with that melted butter and I just wiped it into my dish. And as you can see here, I am sifting just a little bit of flour in the bottom of it so that my banana bread does not stick. Here I'm using about a half of a teaspoon of baking powder. I just add that in, stir it in, and from there I add about a little bit of salt, and that's just a little bit. As you can see here, you see me shaking it in my hand. It's not even a full teaspoon of salt that I am adding to the mixture to balance out the sweetness. And here I'm just pouring it over into my dish. And this is going to bake in the oven for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. Please watch your oven because mine got a little bit darker than what I wanted it to be. But it was nevertheless still very, very good. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board, but I had to share this recipe because my family really enjoyed it. It was so good. It was heavy on the banana. It was heavy on the nuts. We paired it with some bacon and a fried egg, and baby, it just worked out really good. So I hope you guys tried. I hope you guys like what you're seeing. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll keep the videos coming.